All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's go into game number 1, where we will see Empire and FXO kick it off with these two players. Let's get in there right now. It's going to be on Antigua Shipyard. Of course, we have in the top right-hand corner, Beastie QT as the Empire player, the green Terran in the bottom left-hand corner. We have the blue Protoss. It is none other than FXO's Ter, or Tier. I'm not sure which one I like.
I don't know either. I wish I knew. It's really been confusing me, and I don't like being confused. It makes me unhappy.
I know. Confusing things are tough.
It makes me sad, and it makes me shed a tear.
Do you do Sudoku puzzles?
Yes, I used to, but they're really easy, so I stopped.
Oh, easy. Well, do you do chess?
I play StarCraft.
It's completely different.
I know, but when you play StarCraft, then you go play chess. Like it's just like, you know, it's boring, right?
I disagree.
What?
I disagree.
If chess is real time, that'd be sick.
No.
Yeah, it would.
Okay,
That'd be really cool.
That would be cool. Anyway, let's go ahead and talk about what we can expect on this map. Antigua Shipyard, we've seen it plenty of times. It is force cross positions. If it was different, then we probably would have seen some sort of 1-1-1. But what do you have to say about Antigua Shipyard TVP?
I love this map. I think it's one of the most balanced maps out there right now. You know, to a certain extent. Actually, I want to revise that statement. It's, as the game gets a lot later, at least as a Zerg player, it gets kind of hard. But in this matchup, I think it's relatively balanced. You know, you get 3 bases pretty easily, but I think like a big point of this map is the Terran player denying the third from the Protoss. If they can get like, you know, a squadron of their army going toward their opponent's third and also have a drop in the main base, you know, the first and third, they're pretty far apart. It's hard for a Protoss player to defend those two. So like a lot of Terran players love just doing a drop in the main and then attacking the third after breaking through the rocks and then taking out the third, and that gives them an advantage. Another thing is getting the fourth. You have to decide, okay, do I get it on the other side of the map? Do I get it at the gold? And then that comes to the very middle of the map where you have the watchtower. Control this watchtower is so important of this high ground. You're going to have the automatic concave of your opponent trying to come up the ramp. You're going to have control of both gold bases. So yeah, a really cool map in general.
Yeah, normally Protoss do take the fourth at the gold expansion. That is more common, whereas Terran will opt to actually get it in the top left or the bottom right. And the main reasons for that is if you put a planetary fortress down here, let's say it's down at this natural, put a planetary fortress here, all of a sudden you have a lot of Protoss units committing over to the top left, and then it gives you a lot of space to do stuff. So basically it says, hey Protoss, if you want to go kill this expansion, you have to kill my army first, and then after that you can actually kill my expansion. Otherwise, you know, if you try to kill me at max 200 against 200, you're going to be in a lot of trouble. Here we see a little bit of an engagement in the middle of the map. A single Zealot is trying to swipe at these Marines, but the Marines are going to back up here. Nice control by BCQD, and he's just going to back up all the way to his natural, looks like.
Yeah, bunker about to finish there. Stalker coming forward as well, but that bunker should finish in time, and Beastie is going to be just fine. That's another thing about this map. You can take your natural expansion pretty easily. There's a ramp leading up to it, kind of like Shakura's Plateau. The Marines they finally get inside that bunker, and Terra's going to get out of there. So Beastie gets that bunker down. You know, Terra, the Protoss player, can kind of guess that his opponent is going for this fast expand. I'm pretty sure he scouted the lack of the gases. No, he wasn't able to get inside the base, so he can either be thinking, okay, he's putting a fake bunker here to make me think he's fast expanding, but Beastie is in fact fast expanding, and Terra behind this, putting down an expansion of his own.
Yeah, this is a common reaction. There goes that second gas. That's really common as well. Now, what's more important, I think, is where Protoss goes from here. Now, normally, this is the stage where Protoss actually gets a big map control advantage on their opponents. You know, Terran really doesn't have, you know, the means, especially if they're fast expanding. They don't have the means to deal with, let's say, like a 4-gate or any type of warp gate pressure. So they normally have to just back up until they realize what their opponents are doing. This is what we can see. 1-gate expand robo. And this is actually pretty risky. If there's something like BCQD goes something like 4 barracks, then it's able to counter the 1-gate robo into 3 gates very easily. You just cannot get enough units up in time, and you can do a lot of damage on that natural. But if it goes, you know, pretty much uncontested, what you basically have is great intelligence, and on top of that, the ability to go very fast Colossus and take advantage of your opponents.
Yep, I mean, he's essentially cutting a little bit of a corner, trying to get that tech out as fast as possible, which you can kind of afford to do on this map. Again, the natural expansion, relatively easy to hold, considering your opponent has to go up a ramp, up a pretty narrow choke, and it's a relatively long rush distance as well. So, of course, Terran doesn't have the ability to warp in next to their opponent's main unless they proxy something. So the Marines have to go all the way across the map to do that. So, yeah, pretty cool build here from Terra, and both these players just playing macro right now. Stim is about halfway done for the Terran player, also adding on an engineering base, so going to start those upgrades relatively soon.
Yeah.
Factory about to finish as well, so going to go into medevac production
now
pretty soon as well.
What's sick that Terra did was utilizing those units to actually go up and be right above the supply depots and really the wall of BCQD. He stops BCQD from really seeing anything at all, forces him to play defensive, because when your units are all the way up like that, you're kind of saying like, oh, well, he has the potential to attack me really fast and I can't do anything about it. So it kind of creates the narrative to say, hey, I'm going to be attacking you, and that's going to give you the time to actually get out the most important units, which are going to be something like the Colossus, and get you that ground coverage, so when something like medevacs come out, they don't really do that much damage. You can take your third a lot quicker than normal times.
Yeah, and we can see like both these players starting to gear up about thinking about taking their thirds. Terra realizes those medevacs are going to start getting on the field, so he's backing up with those stalkers, making sure he isn't caught off guard by any sort of draw play. That being said, we do have a Colossus den or a robotics bay, whatever you want to call it, finishing up there. One Colossus on the way as well. So I would not be surprised to see Terra, go for that third relatively soon. Has to be careful though. You don't want to get too fast. I know some players they stay really low on health, or really low on units, and then try to go for that third. It's pretty dangerous. It's a good idea to get a nice amount of units on the field, a nice amount of production before moving out to take that third. But both these players definitely thinking about it right now.
Now, Terra is going up to 6 gateways. This could represent a big all-in. It could be also something like a mass defense. You're just super scared that your opponent is going to do some huge amount of pressure. But if the pressure doesn't come, it kind of forces the hand of Protoss to push forward. And you can see that the command center is going down. Terra's going to see this with this one probe, and what that basically says to Terra is, I need to push out. As soon as I get 2 Colossus in my range, I push out and I try to do as much damage as possible. And with +1, 2 Colossus with thermal range, thermal lance, on the field, especially with the 6 gateways, he'll be very powerful. It's going to come down to, can BCQT actually identify what's going on, and then directly after that, can he actually defend appropriately? And that'll be the big question. I think if he gets enough Vikings out, he will be in a good shape.
Yeah.
But right now, oh gosh.
Wow.
Might be hard.
Yeah, he didn't know about the Colossus, so he scanned, saw that, he's like, I'm out of here. And right there, that was pretty interesting. He split up his army a little bit, sent about 7 or 8 units, just stimmed down. I thought he was going to sacrifice them at first, just so his other units could get away, but ended up running out of there. Look at this, loading up into a drop. So again, on this map, drops are so good. Your first is so far away from your third. As a Protoss player, you have to be really proactive about making the right decisions when splitting your army. You don't want to send just purely stalkers or zealots. You got to make sure you partition off your army correctly as the medevac's coming forward. See the stalkers there, and Terra defends that quite nicely.
I'm actually very surprised that we see a Nexus coming out right here. It could be a cancel Nexus, but I highly doubt that, seeing that the Twilight Council and the second Forge was on the way at this point. The Marauders are trying to focus down that Nexus, but to no avail. They will not be successful. See another drop coming in the main, and this is going to do a ton of damage, seeing that there's no AoE over here. He really needs Colossus to help out, but these Marines and Marauders doing way too much damage. Big Artosis pylon on powers 3 gateways at this point. Now the Forge is left open. He's not actually going to go for that, though. One Colossus is going to step forward, and that's going to be that's going to take out a lot of these Marines and Marauders, force back the Terran army, and there we go. A very successful attack by BCQT. He's able to do a lot of damage in that engagement.
Yeah, that was really bad for Terra, to be completely honest. I said it before, you got to make sure you split your army correctly. Now, he did the right thing. He had stalkers over there, but they weren't in position to take down the medevacs before they arrive at the base. It's nice to have stalkers there, but once the units actually get on the ground, all those Marauders, when they stim and start hitting the stalkers are going to die incredibly fast. We saw Terra lose about 3 or 4 stalkers there for free. Didn't even engage with the stalkers because they're just bad versus all those Marauders. So that's why you need to have some Zealots there, maybe a Colossus, or just completely eliminate the medevacs from even approaching your base by shooting them as stalkers when they get there, or you can have maybe a cannon or 2 on the edge of your bases.
That's exactly right. And you know, you're kind of seeing right now the effects of the builds that we witnessed. Terra went for this third Nexus after 6 gateways. You normally do that, you know, after 4 gateways if you want to go expansion heavy. But right now, when you put down those extra 2 gateways, it kind of delays your Nexus quite a bit. He was out of position for those drops, so you can see the very, very huge disparity in the amount of supply each of these players have. 170 to 123 at this point. And Terra is so far behind because the third of BC Cutie has been up for quite a long time, a lot longer than his opponent. Now the big engagement has started. Force fields will come up here, but the Vikings are immediately targeting down those Colossus. Additional units are being dropped in the main over here, but the Stalkers, they might be cleaned up. I'm not sure. It looks like there will be enough, but in the meantime, the main army does get cleaned up. Just too much Marines and Marauders. The Colossus got focused down way too fast. Terror in a terrible position, LOL. And he's going to probably lose a lot here. I don't think he's in any conceivable way to come back into the seeing as no units on the field and just mainly probes.
Yep. You know, if the High Templar upgrade was still there, Calderius Amulet, I forgot what it's called, he could have warped in some High Templar there and stormed this army, theoretically. But that's not there anymore for a pretty good reason. And Beastie should win this game, and we should see a GG any second here.
Yep, and there it is. GG comes out. And we have ourselves a 1-0 advantage for Team Empire. Very nicely played by BC Cutie. Really just played the builds.
Yeah.
You know, it is kind of weird to see something like a 6-gate robo and not see any sort of pressure from the Protoss. And what's even worse is the fact that those medevac drops did a lot of damage. That should not happen, especially, you know, when you're going so unit heavy. You get 6 gateways, you get your, you know, Colossus out so early, and then you don't utilize the advantage. Normally when you get Colossus out that early, it says I can deal with drops or I can pressure on my opponent. I can deal with drops really efficiently because now I only need, like, let's say 3-4 Stalkers and Colossus to clean up drops, so 1 medevac drops. Right, so I can put that over by my third or put a couple more units over there and clean up 2 drops. The Colossus represents a lot of AoE in that position. But not utilizing that, not actually taking your third really quickly, or not pressuring up, but just saying I'm going to go a lot of units, a lot of production facilities, and then take my expansion. It just, you know, hurts yourself and hinders you so much to the point where Terran can take advantage of that, take a quick third, and then just start materializing off of that great gains from their economy.
Yeah, I mean, you nailed it, man. Like, you know, what we talked about a little bit earlier, Terra got a really early robotics facility, really early robotics bay, relatively early Colossi. Beastie came forward, scanned, there's a Colossi, he got out of there immediately. Terra had that tech advantage, you know, and you know, he deserved it. He cut some corners. Beastie never really did a lot of aggression very early on, and the Colossi came out right on time. And then behind that, Beastie's like, okay, I'm a little bit of trouble. He has a tech advantage. Gotta get some Vikings out. Oh, how am I gonna get back in this game? I don't have too much ability to apply pressure. Okay, I'm gonna drop. Antigua Shipyard's so good with dropping. Again, the main base is so far away from the third. As a Protoss player, you have to be very proactive. You have to make almost perfect decisions when splitting up your army and where to send people, and then you have to be able to manage those two armies. So you know, Terra unable to do that. Beastie outmaneuvering his opponent with those medevacs, and you know, just gave himself that lead and then just went for the kill. Yep,
well played by BC Cutie. That's going to give them, as I said, the 1-0 advantage. We're going to move into game 2, ladies and gentlemen, between Empire and FXO, so don't go anywhere. We'll be back with more action.